Hi everybody, this is Ms. Trapp and welcome to video 2 of Learning Target 15. So we are going to start with solving radical equations and we're going to do 1 through 4 to practice. So if you need to, look at the last page and the steps here. Remember, we're going to isolate the square root, we're going to raise the root or square both sides, solve, and then we're going to check our answer. So looking at number 1. So we're going to solve for x, and to do that we need to isolate the square root or the radical. So you're going to be using the skills that you already have to solve. So let's make our t-chart. We'll get the variable and numbers. And I'm going to start with adding 8 to each side. So then we have 2 times the square root of x is equal to 8. Then we'll divide by 2 on each side. So the square root of x is equal to 4. So our steps tell us now that we need to raise the root or square both sides. All right, so the square root of x squared is just x. So we got rid of that square root. And 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. All right, so now we're going to check our answer. And the way you do that is we take our original equation, and we are going to plug in that 16 for x. So that would be 2 times the square root of 16 minus 8 is equal to 0. And you just need some order of operations or PEMDAS knowledge for this. So we'll start with taking the square root. So the square root of 16, and you can use your calculator for this, is 4. So this becomes 2 times 4 minus 8 is equal to 0. Well, 2 times 4 is just 8, and 8 minus 8 is 0. So 0 is equal to 0. We wanted both sides of the equal to be the same, and we did it. So that works. All right, so let's look at the next one. Number 2, so we have the square root of x minus 7 is equal to 0. Again, we want to get that radical by itself. So to do that, we're solving. So we've got our variable on one side, number on the other. So we'll add 7. So the square root of x is equal to 7. Now we need to raise the root or square both sides. And the square root of x squared is x, and that is equal to 7 times 7, or 7 squared, which is 49. All right, then we're going to do our check. So we use your original equation. So 49, and we're going to plug that in for x. So the square root of 49 minus 7 is equal to 0. And if you need your calculator, the square root of 49 is 7. And 7 minus 7 is 0. So both sides of the equal sign match, which is what we wanted, and this works. 0 is equal to 0. Okay, so let's look at number 3. This one's kind of like the one that we did on the first page. Again, we're trying to get the square root of x by itself. So we can solve for x. So let's start solving. I'm going to add 3 on each side. So 12 times the square root of x is equal to 3. Divide by 12 on each side. And the square root of x is equal to, so 3 over 12. So let's figure out what that is. If I've got 3 divided by 12, that's 1/4, which as a decimal is 0.25. All right, so then we're going to square each side. So x is equal to, and 0.25 squared is 0.0625. All right. So let's go ahead and plug back into our original equation for our check. So 12 times the square root of x minus 3 is equal to 0. So we're going to take 0.0625 and plug it in. So 12 times the square root of 0.0625 minus 3 is equal to 0. So if you need to, you can use your calculator. So let's start with finding the square root of 0.0625. and that's 0.25. So we've got 12 times 0.25 minus 3 equals 0. Let's multiply. So 12 times 0.25 gives me 3. 3 minus 3 is 0, so 0 is equal to 0. So that checks. So x is equal to 0.0625. All right, last problem. If you wanted to work ahead and try it on your own, go ahead and pause the video and then you can see how you did. So same idea, but this time we have the square root of x minus 7. So we want to get the radical by itself before we can solve for x. So we have to get the square root of x minus 7 by itself. So you can make a t-chart if you'd like to. And let's start. So, and I'll leave my calculator out. We're going to start with subtracting 12 on each side. So 4 times the square root of x minus 7 is equal to 28 minus 12, which is 16. Then we'll divide by 4 on each side, leaving us with the square root of x minus 7 is equal to 4. And now we're ready to square both sides because we got the radical by itself. So the square root of x minus 7 squared is just x minus 7. And 4 squared is 16. We'll add 7 to get x by itself. So our answer is 16 plus 7, which is 23. Okay, so the last step here is we just want to check our work. So over here, let's do our check. And you want to take your original equation and we're going to plug in 23 for x. So 4 times the square root of 23 minus 7 plus 12 is equal to 28. And we're just going to work on simplifying the side of the equation. So 4 and then the square root of 23 minus 7. So 23 minus 7 is 16. All right, and the square root of 16 is 4. So we've got 4 times 4. All right, and 4 times 4 is 16. And 16 plus 12 is 28. So 28 is equal to 28. So that works and that checks. All right, so that completes the video, the second video for Learning Target 15. And I'll see you in the next video for the next page. Thank you.